Hey there, my friend. Welcome to the Leadership Table podcast. I'm so excited to have Danielle and myself with one of our dear friends, Diana Kokoska. Diana has such an amazing background, amazing experience, and we're today going to have just a great conversation, just literally gathering jewels and nuggets and being able to really just give you tremendous, tremendous value today. A little bit about our friend Diana. Diana is an entrepreneur, keynote speaker, best-selling author, investor, and mentor. She has built many businesses, but one of them that she's made the greatest impact is in the Keller Williams coaching program. She was one of the key leaders in developing that, and I believe even one of the founders in that. So you're going to hear tremendous wisdom from her. One of the things that she's known for is being known as one of the top leadership and business coaches in America. So we are so excited to have our friend Diana with us. Diana, thank you for joining us. And Danielle and I are just going to have a tremendous time, and just add anything else that you'd like to share with our audience.
Well, I'm just so excited to be here. First of all, the two of you bring so much value to the world. Your leadership and the way that you treat people, always giving so much of yourself to them, your wisdom, your kindness, and support. I'm just lucky to be here.
Oh, it takes one to know one, Diana. We value your friendship. We value who you are, and we know the impact that you've made in a tremendous amount of lives, in and outside of Keller Williams and everything else that you do. So we are. I mean, this is a huge accomplishment, and I am just super excited to announce your book, Becoming More.
Yes.
And I love where it says you can't get to better until you get to different. Now, if you could just share what was the impetus to write this book, because I know the journey that you've been on, and this is just such an incredible season you're in.
Well, first of all, thank you for that question. I truly believe we can't get to better until we get to different, until something changes in our life. Einstein said doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. And so it's so interesting to me. We all get up and we get out of bed the exact same way. We go and we go through this routine. I mean, when you're in the shower, I'll bet every one of us shower off exactly the same way. We drive to work the same way. We talk to the same people. We hurry and go through all of the motions that we know so well and that we're so wise in accomplishing all these things. And the tasks are checked off. And then we go home. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, we hurry up and eat, and then we hurry up and check our emails, and we hurry up and play with the kids, and we hurry up and watch TV so we can hurry up and go to bed and hurry up so it can start all over the next day the same way. And yet we're sitting back, Chad and Danielle, secretly hoping that something else is going to change in our life. And nothing is going to change until we change. I know a lot of people do not want to hear this, yet we got to look in the mirror every day and realize that our businesses, our lives, our relationships, they all grow to the extent that we do. We are in charge of our own story called our life.
I love that.
That's
I love that. Actually, it dives right into my first question. Because today we're really excited to just kind of go through your book and share some of the gems. I mean, it's a heavy book with a lot of incredible content, and we just put a few questions together, so it's just tapping into what you have in there. But this first question said, in Becoming More, you talk about how change is essential for growth. What are some practical steps people can take to embrace change rather than resist it? Because we do know that a percentage, actually, 38% of people will actively resist change. It's actually a word people don't like.
Yeah, they don't like that word change. So let's change the word. Let's make it different. Let's have fun with it. Words mean so much. Like when we say we're frustrated, well, that shuts down a portion of our brain and makes us look at the problem, always being caught in that problem. Whereas if we say we're fascinated, it opens up the creative side of the brain for fascination on how we can change it. So when you use that word change, whatever desire you have, let's say that you desire to be healthier. And so you make the decision to drink a glass of water in the morning before you have that cup of coffee, right? Well,
Mhm.
then put steps in place for that to happen. And sometimes it's putting something on your mirror, sometimes it's just putting it in your phone. I know one of my goals is to add value to people every day. And
Mhm.
so in my phone at 7 a.m., the alarm goes off and it says, "What will you do today to add value to others?" And at 7 p.m., it goes off and it says, "What did you do today to add values to others?" Now, see, that's kind of me holding myself accountable. And of course, we can have coaches and teammates and friends that do the same thing. Yet it all starts with the way that we think.
Mm.
And right now, Danielle and Chad, I believe people are desiring to live in that comfort zone. It's a cage that we all live in, and the bars of that cage are our thoughts. And inside that cage is our comfort zone. And we're afraid to go outside the cage like there's a big monster out there that's going to get us, right? And yet, when
Yes.
we realize that everything we desire is outside of that cage, because if we could accomplish it, we'd already have it. So that already tells us that it doesn't live in our comfort zone, or we would have it and desire it. And because that desire is so strong, it means that it's outside the comfort zone. So we have to go into that uncomfortable zone to go find it
Mm.
and go after it. Like our friend John Maxwell says, we have uphill goals with downhill habits, which means we're
Mhm.
not going to accomplish the goal unless we change.
I love that. And you know what? One of the things that you did in the book that I really admired was at some of the chapters, right? You actually asked people to start activating that, right? That
Mhm.
change, like, to become list, right? Start writing down
Yeah.
things that you want to become, or I am making a commitment to. Like, I love that. A lot of books don't have those actionable steps and incorporated in the book. So I love the way that you incorporated that.
Yeah.
And also the reminder, the 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. reminder. Um, that's a gem right there.
Yeah. Diana, I love how you said the bars of that cage are our thoughts. Can you kind of just unpack that a little bit more? Because I totally agree with you. I'm not sure if some people will understand in depth what you mean by that. Maybe just go deeper.
Thanks so much for that question because it is something that on the surface it sounds so easy, and yet it isn't. And this is where your book and my book really join hands. They need both of them to be real honest with you. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like when the way our thoughts work is we train our brain to the way that we think. And we can train our brain to a new way of thinking because, see, neuroscience tells us nerve cells that fire together wire together. And
Mhm.
that's what makes the bars of those cage. Now, they also tell us that nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together, which means we can change the bars of the cage. So let me go in
Mhm.
further. Let's
Yeah.
say I'm going to walk across a field and I walk across it the first time, and oh, it doesn't make much difference. You can't even see where I walked. The second time, it may not make a difference. Yet when I walk through that field over and over and over again on the same path, eventually the weeds are trodden down, and it is a path that everyone can follow. Now,
Mhm.
that's the way it is in our brain. When we have a thought, it leaves one neuron, travels along an axon, hits another neuron, and the thought is complete. Now, the more we have that thought, the stronger that pathway gets, the more deep it becomes, the more it hardwires those neurons together. And because our brain loves to go fast and loves easy, it takes the path of least resistance, which is the thought we've always had. Now,
Mhm.
let's say I stop going across that field and I take a new way, a new path. Eventually, what will happen to those weeds? They'll grow back. That's what happens in our brain. Eventually, that pathway is not the one that is hardened into our brain. It is a different way of thinking, a different path. And now we're down a pathway of being someone different, someone better, and we have now become more.
Wow. So Diana, would it be fair to say, and I think this would be really good for the audience, would it be fair to say that you could spend many years developing yourself, and if you fall off track, you can wind up having those weeds that you speak of. But then if you have those weeds, you could also change that and wind up having better thought life that would lead to better outcomes and better results. Fair to say?
Yeah, because see, everything in life starts with the thought, doesn't it? I mean, when we think of Disney World, for heaven's sakes, that was the thought that Walt
Yeah.
Disney had. And we look at these great leaders like Gandhi and Mother Teresa, I mean, Steve Jobs, it doesn't matter who you think of, Martin Luther King Jr., they all had a dream. They had a vision. It was a thought in their mind. They couldn't see it, couldn't touch it, couldn't feel it, couldn't taste it. Yet that thought was so alive in their mind. It was like it was already becoming real. And it was
That's good.
so real for them that they could actually tell other people about it, and other people could capture that dream and capture that picture. More importantly, they captured their thought. And so this dream became a reality from thought to actually forming. And when Walt Disney, he died before Walt Disney World was completed. And Lillian, his wife, was standing there at the ribbon cutting ceremony, and the CEO of the company turned to her and said, "Wow, I wish Walt could see this." And she said, "Oh, are you kidding? Walt saw this, or we wouldn't be standing here." So what do we see in our mind? What are we building in our mind that we desire to construct? And in the book, I ask people to write their eulogy. And I know that sounds creepy. Yet
Yes.
Did it at
when I
26 years old.
wrote mine, it was crazy. Yeah. Did you guys do that?
Yeah,
Yes.
26 years old.
And I loved when I read it in your book because I was like, this is, it really is. It's a powerful exercise. It's like, it's like working backwards, right? Like what do you want to be known for when you're no longer here? And it starts to set the goals and everything that you want to achieve. And that's one of my favorite stories is the Walt Disney when the wife shared with the CEO. I believe that was a moment to just turn around and share how powerful thoughts are and how they could come to fruition in our lifetime or even beyond our lifetime.
So, Chad and Danielle, it's interesting about our thoughts because when we have a thought over and over and over again, it actually becomes a belief. And that belief is so strong, we believe it. And they can be limiting beliefs or they can be liberating beliefs. Now, a lot of people think that belief and faith are the same thing. And yet, one thing about it, faith is more than just a thought. Faith is a deep conviction. A belief is a belief. But faith is who we're actually being. A belief is something that we have. So let's think about this for just a moment, because limiting beliefs are those invisible chains that hold on to us, that actually captivate us and don't let us go and become the very best person that we can be and reach our potential, like you say in your book. And they're the inner narratives that tell us that we can't do something, we're not good enough to do something. And so when we can identify those beliefs and then we challenge those beliefs and start to reframe them through affirmations and declarations, we can overcome setbacks that we never thought that we could overcome.
I
That's
love
good.
that. Your chapter 4 here, and I love the title of it. It says, "From human being to human becoming."
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Human being is, I feel like it's just right. It's just repetition, right? You're
Kind of like
there.
in your rat race.
Yeah, you're just there. But
You're in the human rat race.
human becoming is such a powerful, actionable word.
Well, and that's why I wrote the model out. I took what our brain goes through and the steps that we can go through to go from who we're being, the story of our life, whether it be the victim, the villain, or the hero, to a new story, a story that we so desired, that was put in our hearts, we were given a gift. I mean, God gave each and every one of us a gift. And the problem is, a lot of people just haven't opened up their gift yet. And they're
Right.
wondering what it is and what their purpose is. Yet it's in there. And we can help bring that out of them. And
Mm.
once they start living in that gift zone, they go from who they're being to who they can become. And here's kind of how it works. Many people say, well, Danielle and Chad, if I had what you had, I could do what you do, and then I could be just like you. Well, that's kind of like the way the victim tells a story. Oh, I don't have what they have, so I can't do what they do, so I can't be like them.
Yeah.
Now, the villain says, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to work hard. You got to do, and then you can have, and then you'll be like them. So if I do what you do and do it enough, then I can have what you have, and I'll be just like you. And the real hero of the story really truly understands. See, I've got to be like you. I've got to think like you in
Mhm.
order to do what you do and have what you have. And our brain is constructed that way. Very quickly, information is what we have. We take it into our neocortex of our brain. And then at that point, we decide, does this information stop right here? Or does this information get passed into the limbic system where our amygdala lights up and the emotion comes in? And now all of a sudden we desire to do it. We're going to implement that information. And by the way, I think our whole society is addicted to information and allergic to implementation. And so we literally have this
That's good.
part of ourselves.
Hold me on that.
Well,
Oh, we're using that.
we have to implement it. But once we implement it and we do it over and
Mhm.
over and over again, then what happens? It goes into our cerebellum. And this is our unconscious mind. This is where we become unconscious about what we're doing. We just do it so well that we're being it. And then our whole life is lived from being it to doing it to having it. But we've got to go through that, have the information, implement the information, become the information.
There's something in you. I highlighted this in your book. It's one of my favorite lines, actually, and it's in the chapter "Emotions," feeling the feels. And you say here, the way it works, you do the thing you're scared of, and you get the courage after you do it, not before you do it. Now, I love that because that's one of my favorite words is courage. And sometimes you feel like you need, right, to build the courage for everyone. Like, be courageous. You need to build that courage. And I love how it said here, it says the way it works is you do the thing you're scared of and you get the courage afterwards.
Mm.
Yeah, we have to feel the fear and do it anyway and just move forward because every little step that we take helps us build that courage. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves. I use the example in the story of walking on the hot coals. And
Mhm.
believe me, feeling that heat coming up, your brain starts going crazy. And the people before me, he was saying, "You're not ready. You're not ready." And my brain was going, "Am I ready? Am I ready? I don't know if I'm ready. What if I step on there and I burn my feet? What am I going to do?" You go through all these crazy things, and then you realize it's and I put in there a pun about I had to have faith over defeat, right? Because of my feet hitting those hot coals. But some people got it, some people didn't. I can go a little crazy with the humor sometimes. Yet, what is it that we're telling ourselves, and what is it that we're believing?
Mhm.
Because our emotions will follow our thoughts. In fact, if we have insecure thoughts, we learn how to feel insecure. And when we have those feelings of insecurity, we have more insecure thoughts. So we have this mind and body connection that our mind tells our body how to feel. And then pretty soon our body starts telling our mind how to feel. And we get caught in this loop of feeling insecure, having insecure thoughts, feeling more insecure, and it goes down in a spiral. We've got to
Mhm.
stop it somewhere, and we stop it with saying, I'm not going to think that way anymore. At one point in my life, I put a rubber band around my wrist and I would snap it, right? Every time I didn't want that thought. And then I would think the opposite thought. And there was one day I had a big welt right there on my wrist
Wow.
because I kept having this thought and I kept, snapping that rubber band. And I went, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
What happened was I learned about the way that our brain is wired. It's wired to feel emotions much faster than it's wired to be logical. And because of that, we're going to feel that emotion that fast. We've got to
Mm.
teach ourselves to take a breath and go, okay, I don't need to go in that direction. And just that little pause will allow the thalamus, the amygdala, and the cortex, everything that's involved in that, allow that to hit the logical part of our brain because it's already hit the emotion. Yet
Mhm.
taking a breath allows the thought to go on to the logical side. And now we can respond instead of reacting to that
That's
thought.
cool. Yeah, Diana, that's awesome. So I think it would be so helpful. You've coached many high performers over the years, and I think it would be great as we probably have another 5 or 10 minutes, but as we continue to wind down towards the end of the podcast, maybe you could just share what have been some of the greatest lessons you've learned as you've coached high performers, and why high performers are different than the average. Maybe you can just go into that because you have a lot of experience in working with a lot of high performers and also working with some people that are producing average results. Can you kind of just unpack that for our listeners?
Yeah, I really like this question because high performers, I love coaching high performers. First of all, they have no patience. They think they should have accomplished it 2 minutes ago and they haven't even thought of it yet, right? So I love that about them. And they literally are more critical of themselves than they are of other people. That's why they're high performers. They're always looking at what they can do better. And they have this growth mindset. At least to me, top performers do. There's top performers out there that are very egotistical, and then guess what? They go down, right? They're not top performers anymore. I'm talking about consistently being a top performer. They have a growth mindset and they realize that the effort they put forward is more important than what they know, how smart they
Yeah.
are, if they can pass a test or not. They also have a great gratitude over entitlement mindset. They're
Hmm.
grateful for the people that have gone before them. And I have a saying, when you drink the water, don't forget who dug the well. Always show gratitude to those people that have gone before.
I agree.
Now, the other
Yeah.
part is we can ask them questions and they respond very quickly. With high achievers, they know that their words matter. And so we catch them in coaching. I coached a lot about changing the words that they used and coaching in regards to the energy that they were putting out. Because one thing about high achievers, we've got to remember that if we expect people to be where we're at. We expect people to get what we get. We get it so fast. We expect other people to,
Mhm.
why don't you see this? And yet to remind ourselves, if they were like us, they'd have our job. If they were like us, they'd be who we are. And,
Mhm.
and so it's our job to help develop them to become who we are. And yet we've got to have personal growth, or we're not going to help them develop any more than where we are. We got to constantly be growing. So I think the biggest thing I would say in coaching top people is ask yourself the tough questions. At the end of the year, I have about 26 questions I go through. And some of them are really challenging. One that kind of got me this year is, did I give all I could in every endeavor that I encountered this year? And if I didn't, where was it? And how could I do better this year as I set my
Mhm.
goals?
Yeah.
Questions that go deep that we can reflect on. And as a coach, that was my job, was to ask the tough questions, to get them to think differently, because then I could get them to achieve more. And no matter how much we have achieved, there's always another level that we
Mm.
can go to, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's why I think your book is so powerful, because your book speaks about becoming more. And I want to encourage everyone that's listening to this podcast to pick up a copy of your book, Diana, because I think they're going to be truly blessed by it. I think it's going to challenge them to be more, to become a better leader, to give more to the world. So how can they find your book? Can you share that? I know we're also going to drop a comment so they can be able to find it on the podcast. But where can they find it?
Well, Amazon is probably the best way, because then you just have the shipping for free, right? That's great. If you want bulk, it's becomingmorebook.com. And I do want to just share very quickly that Bernard is a gentleman up in Canada, and he had a dream in his heart. He always wanted to climb mountains. And well, that dream had gone dormant, and he read the book, and he since has sent me 3 videos. The first one, he was on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro reading my book. He had carried it that high. He took my book to new heights, but he said, "This was a dream, and your book rekindled it." And now he has climbed 2 other mountains, and he's
Wow.
sent me videos from each one of them with my book. And he said, "Thank you for rekindling that dream." So I just want everybody to hear, if you have a dream in your heart, whatever it is, rekindle it. Light that fire within once again, because God put that dream in you. And if you have that dream, you have what it takes to make that dream a reality. You just need a model, a system to follow. And that's what the book will give. And the book will give you that model. And you need both books, because quite frankly, awakening your potential is going to help you start dreaming again, and becoming more is going to help you put that dream into reality by following the models, teaching your brain how to make it and how to accomplish it.
I love
That's
that.
good.
Diana, thank you so much. I don't, us, we, I wanted to share our sentimental, we appreciate everything that you have become and everything that you're still becoming. And I want to even echo the words of our dear friend John Maxwell, who did the foreword also on your book, where he said, "You will not find a brighter light than Diana Kokoska. Diana and I have traveled the world together, enjoying many unique experiences over our 25-year friendship. There are 2 things about her that shine no matter the circumstances. She always smiling and always learning. Her attitude and passion to continually grow set her apart from the pack. The most successful leaders and the ones I want to learn from understand there is no finish line to the growth." That's Diana.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's so sweet. And he still says I tell the corniest jokes, so I'm going to leave you with one. Did you know yesterday I burned 2,000 calories? That's pretty good. I left the brownies in the oven too long.
Oh, I love brownies. My love language.
Oh man, now I have to get brownies for this one.
Thank you.
See you all. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Table podcast. You have been a phenomenal guest, phenomenal friend, and I just want to encourage everyone to pick up the book. It's going to be such a blessing to you. Diana, keep shining bright. We love you, girl.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Leadership Table. I am so excited that you've joined us. Hey, listen, you want to join us in future episodes where we're going to invite some of our greatest friends, some of the greatest leaders we know, to share all about their leadership journeys and just add tremendous value to you and your teams. Hey, listen, drop a comment below on your biggest takeaway, what is impacting you the most. Like it. Share it with those people that you know need to hear this message, and subscribe. And hey, listen, turn on the notifications. I just want to thank you, because you are making a difference. As you help us, we help you, and we just divide the work and multiply the impact. My friend, Thank you for joining us on the Leadership Table.